Recent events in American history have made it more clear than ever before that Americans should be prepared for civil unrest. Myself, as a father and a husband, realize it is my duty to protect my wife and my child. No one is coming to rescue me. I'm Steven Cortez, and we're Armored Republic. We are the #1 direct-to-consumer armor manufacturer in the world, and today we're going to talk about the gear that you need to be prepared in 2024. If you started to think about buying armor, guns, gear, medical supplies, emergency food, water, then this video is for you, especially if you don't know where to get started. Providing for your family is something that we do on a day-to-day basis. But in the context of civil unrest, this is a very different category. It's a very different scenario. And so we're not just talking about going to work and cashing a paycheck to provide. We're talking about you having to get your hands dirty to protect your family. I'm not necessarily talking about the fight itself, which is something we will definitely talk about. But we're talking about taking steps today to make yourself a prepared husband, a prepared father, a prepared man for yourself, for your family, and for your community. So as we get going and you're starting to consider the things that you might need, it's important to note that this isn't just one video to satisfy all your informational needs. I don't believe there is a single video that can cover everything in depth. So this will probably be one of many videos, and we encourage you to do a little bit more of your own research. This video is meant to be more of a platform for you to start your foundation. Remember, when we're talking about prepping, this isn't just a one-stop shop. I'm going to buy the things in this video and then now I'm good to go. This is actually a lifestyle that you should be following. And so something that I like to do is, if you have the money, by all means, go out and spend, $5,000, $10,000 and buy, all your stuff all at once. But what I like to do is make smarter decisions when buying. For example, if I'm going to Costco to buy food, toilet paper, water, things like that, maybe I'll buy a little bit extra this pay period and put the rest in an emergency kit. When we're talking about ammunition, if I'm going to buy, 1,000 rounds for training, maybe I'll buy another 50 rounds of defensive ammunition that I can set aside. And so this is a lifestyle. This is something that you should be taking seriously. And remember, it's incremental steps to help you build a healthy store of supplies. When considering kit to buy, we like to break it up into 8 key categories. So everyone talks about you need to be prepared. That's literally what we're doing now. But we want you guys to understand and start to think about, what are you actually preparing for? And so whether it's environmental issues, civil unrest, World War III, all of the above, what is the key factor that we need to be taking into consideration? And that is supply chain issues. So when the supply chain goes down, there are certain things you will not be able to get or will be extremely hard to get. So let's get into 8 key categories to consider for emergency preparedness. Let's talk about guns. So first things first, all of the weapons here have been rendered safe by our staff and double checked by myself. So when we're talking about supply chain issues and we're talking about firearms, the first thing we want to highlight is a personal protection gun, EDC gun, pistol, something that you can conceal or wear on your waistband. The Glock 19 is going to be an excellent choice. So one of the reasons why we love this is, one, they're readily available, which means parts are readily available. If me and the guys that I train with need to swap parts, magazines, ammunition, this makes it very easy to do. Another honorable mention is going to be the Glock 47. Awesome weapon right here. So this platform allows you to take a Glock 17, Glock 47 slide, take it off and put a Glock 19 slide. So this is another option to consider. One of the big things we want to highlight is community as well. And so if you are training with family, with friends, your local community, all of the above, it is not a bad idea to have a universal weapon platform that you guys can all share parts with. So for handguns, we recommend the Glock 19, Glock 17, Glock 47, things like that. And for rifles, we're going to talk about the AR-15 platform. So when we're talking about the AR-15, we have a couple of different models here, and then this is a 22. So this was actually my very first AR-15. I left it completely stock. It came as is. This is a 16-inch Smith & Wesson M&P. The only thing I did was add a sling to it. So this has now become like a parts gun or a backup gun that I can salvage stuff with. I live in a dense urban population, and so my new weapon of choice is going to be this shorty right here from ZevTech with a suppressor. It's a 1-to-7 twist ratio, and I'm shooting quality ammunition out of it. A 22 is also a solid choice. I think this is a great weapon platform to start training your kids on if they're really small. Not saying you couldn't train on these other platforms. For me, this is just an easy choice. Another thing with 22 is ammunition is extremely affordable, and you can buy it in mass quantities really easy. Again, consider supply chain issues that could occur. Something else about the 22 round is we have not had to experience this in America, but in a lot of disaster novels and fiction and things like that, and then currently in other parts of the world, the 22 round has become a form of currency. And so having a mass amount of 22 ammunition could serve you in the future. Even if you're not shooting it, you could be using it for trade. When we're coming over here to this side of the table, we have a beautiful shotgun and a 308 hunting rifle. And so having a 308 style weapon will allow you to take down bigger game if you're hunting. It'll allow you to push out a little bit further and get a little bit more range as well. Having a shotgun is a great choice. It allows you diversity in the types of ammunition you can have. It's relatively easy to use. Depending on the ammunition, you might have a little bit more of a kick if you're shooting slugs or something like that, but it's very versatile. And so all of these would make great choices when you're looking to purchase a weapon. I will say, though, that we definitely emphasize the AR-15 platform, shooting 5.56 if you're going to be looking for a rifle, and the Glock 19 or the Glock platform if you're looking for a firearm to carry. Some other considerations when you're buying a rifle is, what I like to tell people is you're buying a rifle. The next thing you should get, and if you could do it at the same time, get a weapon light. You can't shoot what you can't see, and most bad events happen at night. So getting a weapon light is going to be critical. Some of these really fancy optics that we have up here that are a little bit expensive, you don't have to get an EOTech and a magnifier or a vortex or all of these fancy optics. A red dot is going to do okay. If you can get something with some magnification, even better. But just consider that you're not just buying the rifle, you're buying a rifle, a weapon light, most likely an optic, magazines, training ammunition, and defensive ammunition. You're spending money on an ecosystem. So if you say to yourself, I have $800 to spend on a rifle, well, consider everything else you're going to need to buy with it. So another thing I want to talk about is ammunition. So right here is Mark 262 from Black Hills. So this is some pretty expensive ammunition. For the 16-inch, it's shooting green tip M855. For the Glocks, we're shooting 124 grain HST plus P ammunition. None of these are cheap. And so when you're buying and spending money in a rifle, remember that the ammunition you use is going to play a big factor in your accuracy and performance and making sure the guns run really well. So there's training ammunition that's usually less expensive, and then you're going to have your defensive fighting ammunition that's going to be more expensive. So you're going to want both, a supply of both. So consider that. And one more thing as we move forward is all of this stuff is expensive. We're not saying to go out and buy everything all at once, because there are other things you need to consider: medical, food, water, communications. And so this is just one step in being prepared. So the shotgun I'm holding here is not your fancy Benelli M4 that's, $1,500 before you buy anything else for it. This is a relatively affordable shotgun. I believe this was only $47 at the time that it was made. But the point is, use what you have, train with what you have, and get good with what you have. If I were to own all of these firearms, I would want to spend some time behind each of them, training to master all of the platforms. So remember, you don't always have to buy the most Gucci thing you find. Train with what you have. As we're talking about body armor, the conversation is not going to be framed, this item is better than this item. Rather, which item is better for your environment and for your situation. So right now I have a couple of my personal carriers in front of me. In our environment, Coyote and multicam works really well. I actually love Arid. The material is just really hard to get. So first, I want to talk about our Testudo Gen 3. I have this personal kit set up to have all of my gear right up front. And so I have 3 magazines, a GP that's attached, and a dangler GP. This system right here is our brand new placard system that's going to be coming out very shortly. So this will be available for you probably just after the time you see this video. But one of the reasons I like this here is this allows me to keep my hands forward where I'm not reaching around for stuff. Something else I really love about this carrier is, as you can see, there's tons of MOLLE on the sides and on the back. And this allows me the ability to scale up gear as I see fits. Very easily, I could put a hydration pack or a back panel on the back of this. Something else that I really love is its ability to quickly don and doff the carrier and allow room for side plates. So this is our Testudo Gen 3 in Coyote and our Testudo Mark 1 micro rig that's mounted to the front of this. Another carrier that I really love is our Testudo Light Gen 2. And what I love about this is its slickness. So this is very thin. I like a skeleton cummerbund because it doesn't retain as much heat. And this is kind of a minimalist design. I use this actually as a car carrier, more of a reaction setup. In both of these setups, I'm running our A2 plates. And so the thing about our A2 plates is they're extremely lightweight at 5.5 pounds, and they're level 3 plus NIJ certified, if that means anything to you. And so this particular one has a buildup coat, which is an option for you. Something that's really great about our A2 plates is that you can keep them in a car and you don't have to worry about ceramics delaminating or anything like that. Really, really solid choice. It's super affordable. Our Testudo carriers and our A2 plates are always in stock and shipped same day. Sometimes 1 to 2 days, but they're always in stock, ready to ship. We often talk about ceramic armor, and we talk about the differences, and we talk about fragmentation, all those things. As I said in the beginning of this segment, it's not a, this one is better than this one. It's more of which one is right for you. If you live in a hyper rural area like Montana or Alaska or something like that, where there are a lot of hunters in your area, I actually really recommend level 4 plates because you're going to be dealing with higher caliber rounds most likely. If you just want level 4 protection and you want the highest grade protection you can get, then you should check out our C3 plates. These are available on our website. They ship relatively fast. We make them in-house from scratch. And so this is a really solid option. It's also going to allow you edge-to-edge protection. Some of our competitors actually give you like a 1-inch, half-inch buffer of foam on the side so that you're not getting protection. We do not do that. We give you the full amount of protection you can get. So one of my favorite plates that we don't talk enough about is our P3 plate. This is a polyethylene plate that's only 2.8 pounds. My favorite use for this is actually for women and children. So this is great for men. It's buoyant, and so if you're working in and around water, this is probably a great choice for you, especially if you're dealing with mostly pistol calibers or short barrel rifles. This is going to be a good option. But one of the reasons why I like it is men do the primary fighting. So I just want to get that out of the way. So when we're talking about women and children having armor, it's passive defense. We do not expect them fighting. But in terms of passive defense, this is a super lightweight plate that offers level 3 protection. And it's multi-curve, it's super comfortable. So if you're looking for something to defend and protect your family, the P3 plate is a solid option as well. And kind of going back to the Testudo. So again, this cummerbund comes equipped for side plates. And so this is our A2 side plate, level 3 plus, really lightweight. So this is a great 6x6 option for you if you're looking for added protection. So here's another option for you too when we're talking about preparedness. So this is our micro placard system that is about to drop. Right now, this is a triple mag carrier with a GP up front and a dangler. You'll have the option to remove the dangler and add medical as well. The reason why I'm bringing this up is this, with our new harness system that's going to be coming out, is something you can fold up and stick in your bag, ready to rock. This is meant to be a rapid deployment system to react to an instant. It is not a huge recce rig setup that's meant to scale all this gear. It's meant to carry the essentials so you can get into the fight and then get to safety. The great thing about this system is it also integrates with our carriers really nicely. We also have a slick version that'll be available as well. So micro rigs do have a place on the battlefield or in self-defense, and Armored Republic will introduce ours very soon here. All right, so arguably the most important part of your kits is going to be medical. You're more likely to use some of these ingredients here than you are to use your weapons. So we're going to talk about a few considerations and what to do and how to prepare for them. So first off, there's a difference between trauma and first aid, or we might like to call it a boo-boo kit or something. So when I'm talking about trauma, we're talking about stop the bleed, right? So please check out our stop the bleed video that we did a couple weeks ago. A lot of good information there. So we're talking about tourniquets. These are some EDC items that you can have. They're also stuff you should include in your first aid kit. This is a pocket trauma kit. And again, so trauma, let me be clear there, is stop the bleed, meaning chest seals, wound packing gauze, compression gauze, tourniquets, things like that that you need to stop the bleed right now or you will die. Other things like gauze and other first aid kit items are more for wound dressing, cleaning, keeping a wound free from debris and things like that. So there are a couple of things I think you can do today to help you build that supply, and I'll also touch on medicine. So this is something that I did. These are 4x4 gauze sponges, and this is, I think, I should know this. This is a 3-inch by 4-yard roll. And so both of these were on Amazon for auto shipments once a month. I think this was like $4. This was like $5. You get packs of like 50 of them. I didn't even feel it from my bank account. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee. And after a few months, I have a huge stockpile of these things. Most first aid kits, even the ones that are fully stocked, will only carry enough of these supplies to maybe wound dress something once, twice, something like that. And so this gives you the ability to have supplies for you, for your family, for your community, but also be able to clean multiple wounds multiple times. This is something that I keep in my backpack. I keep gauze. I actually keep EpiPens in here as well. Compression wraps, a SWAT tourniquet, some anti-diarrhea medication, which we'll talk about, headache medications, and caffeine as well. So Armored Republic, we offer an IFAC refill kit that's going to cover both of these subjects. And you can get some, a little bit of YouTube training on this. Again, we want to emphasize training. You should take some first aid, CPR, AED, medical classes, and a Stop the Bleed class as well. Before we move on to the next subject, some other considerations when we're talking about first aid are medications. So if you have antibiotics, it doesn't hurt to have some and keep them stored properly. But you should also have pain medications like ibuprofen, Tylenol, things that can reduce the fever, things that'll be really good for your stomach. If you're having diarrhea or food poisoning, that's going to be really critical. Remember, diarrhea, we don't like to talk about it, but will lead to dehydration and can cause some serious complications. It's also good to have insulin if you're a diabetic, if you can keep it stored properly, and even supplements. And so my wife and I take a host of different supplements because we're weird about that stuff. And so we have an extra month's supply on hand at all times, just in case the supply chain goes down. It's harder to get, it gets more expensive, yada, yada, yada. Having that extra supply is going to be critical, and it doesn't really hurt you if you start taking these steps a little bit at a time. So remember, we were talking about the different categories. There's more of the regular first aid kit stuff, and then there's the Stop the Bleed, IFAC, trauma stuff. And so when we're talking about the Stop the Bleed, IFAC, trauma stuff, I like to keep these close on hand. So some of this stuff, like right here, will fit in my pocket. And this is something I carry every single day with me. A regular tourniquet, I'll probably keep very close by in a backpack, if not on my person, depending on what I'm wearing that day. And something like a vehicle, I have all of the Stop the Bleed stuff, but then I also have a separate category for regular first aid kit stuff in terms of gauze and being able to wrap up wounds and clean them and keep them sterile. So at the home, it's good to have a strategy, a plan where you and your family know exactly where everything is and keep a distinction. So if you have a first aid kit, have it neatly organized and make sure your family knows this is a first aid kit meant for these types of things. This over here is a trauma kit. This is meant to stop the bleed in a more urgent situation. The reason why we like to separate them is if for whatever reason you're bleeding out from an artery or it's a venial bleed and it's really, really bad and you're about to die, you don't want to be sorting through gloves and medications and Band-Aids just to get to what you actually need, a tourniquet. And so being able to have a trauma kit that's dedicated to those types of tools will actually help you when you go to use them. So thanks for watching, guys. And before we leave, we want to give you something to really consider. If you have built out a great AR and you have some extra income ready to spend on your kit, I recommend that you actually spend that money towards training before buying a second rifle. And so all of the gear in the world is not going to save your life if you do not know how to use it. So when it comes to your weapon, you should be dry firing. You should be getting professional training, vet your instructors to make sure that they're actually valid. And when it comes to medical, you should be dry firing with your tourniquet, so to speak. Can you put this on one-handed in 30 seconds or less? Training like that is going to be the difference between life and death. When it comes to medical and food storage, do you have a plan? And so maybe you don't necessarily need training for that, but you should have some notes and some organization methods set in place so you and your family know how to operate under stress. Things are clearly labeled, food expiration dates are documented and things like that. Whatever it is that you are going to do, be proficient at it. Make sure you're a pro in all that you're doing so that you can lead your family and your community to survival. Training is going to be your best friend. However, your real best friend is going to be your community. You can't do this alone. As great as a marksman you are, as great of a hunter, and you might be a great survivalist, the real thing that's going to get you by is community. And so whether it's being friendly with your neighbors, that's one step. We recommend that you should be part of a local body of believers and go to church, and making sure that you're building a community there. Having friends and family nearby and knowing where everyone is, knowing what everyone's plan is. Getting together and talking about these things. It's too late, and it's not good enough to assume that they have a plan too. You should be working together. You should have a plan in place with those that you trust and love, so that through hard times, you guys can work together, support each other, and get through it alive. So this video is meant to be a starting platform. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions and comments, maybe gear recommendations, maybe there's stuff I missed that's critical. Please go ahead and let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, share this with your friends, email us if you want, and you can even give us a call and we can chat about this. So again, we're Armored Republic. We are the world's #1 direct-to-consumer body armor provider on the planet.